Oh, hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 11, 12? 11, I think. 11. Episode 11, Freedom Chases. Last episode was a busy one. I'm not going to ask for a full recap, because that would take us hours.
It didn't feel very busy.
Where were you?
It felt like it went really quickly.
Oh, it might have gone quickly, but there was a lot going on. But the TLDR of it is that you guys turned up. No. You turned up at the gaming halls, and you got yourselves ready and you went in. And sort of just before you went in, you sort of met up with Henson, and then he disassociated with you. You were first greeted by Hewlin, Baronet Hewlin, and then you met Amacinth, who were the sort of regal pairing, if you will. You also found your mark, Jaloko, and the girl he's interested in, Fiona. And then you guys sort of played a few games, made a few comments, had a William and Baronet Hewlin built up a little bit of a fractious rivalry with some tension involved that may have involved an invite to a strange happenings. And beyond that, I think... was there anything majorly specific we have to get into? I don't think so. And then... What?
Yeah, we discovered a possible crazy dark magic...
Yeah, literally just said that. Next.
...activity thing.
Yeah.
That the Baronet is involved in, and possibly his wife.
Yeah.
Or wife-to-be. Are they married already?
No, they're not married. It is assumed that they will become a couple. Anyway, I don't think anything particularly important happened. Lots and lots of NPC information, and lots of personality side, but nothing majorly important prior to Spin the Needle. Spin the Needle is a game where basically a piece of metal is attached to a string or rope and then spun as fast as possible around a central point, and then somebody has to catch it. There was clearly some politics going on. But in the end, the same classic two got to the final. The Prince Aemon came in during this time, and he was a bit bothered about the fact that it was the same two in the final, even though people had tried to play fair, and so he asked if Anivari would challenge our current leader, the Baronet Hewlin, and she did, and she won, and therefore you were rewarded with a piece of jewellery from the local jeweler's house, and a seat at the royal table for the banquet. Henson's man Jackson managed to persuade the prince that maybe you shouldn't be forced to sit on your own at the royal table, because you might feel a little isolated. And so you could bring a friend to sit next to you on the other side of the royal table, while the other two banqueted within the main hall. Is there anything else that is extremely important that I need to add before we move on to session?
Oh, the Baronet has a gambling problem.
Extremely important. Anything else?
His wife-to-be is not happy about. She's a bit of a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it was like sort of like a little bit confirmed that like there may be something like going on with Jaloko and Henson, is in like shit always happens to Henson when Jaloko's around. So
yeah,
like,
you definitely witnessed that happening. Yes.
So like, but like we don't know if like somebody else is causing that to happen or if it is just bad luck.
Or
Maybe
third
he's
suspect was Remfrey.
Yeah,
yes. Yeah, he did also seem to be around at all times as well.
Yeah.
Yep. Other than that, not much going on. As the games came to a finish, people will go their separate ways to bathe and prepare themselves for their dinner. At this time, Jackson would come and get you and say that your outfits are ready, and another one of Henson's men will deliver them to the inn. So if you'd like to head back to the inn, where you guys are staying, get yourselves bathed and ready. There is a banquet to attend. The journey back to the lower city is, or lower town is, no, lower city is right, is not particularly eventful. And when you arrive in the,
Um,
What the hell?
See, this is what happens when you don't watch the
Bumpkin, you're being infiltrated. Oh,
Hold on one sec. What the hell was that? I'm so sorry.
no, you're right. I just it caught me by surprise. Sorry, go on, Laura.
Ooh.
while we're on our way back, didn't Samson give us something to return to Quick? Do we see Quick on the way?
Oh, fucking hell. What was that?
I don't recall. I know we gave Quick something from, or we gave Samson something from Quick. I thought he gave us something back.
Oh, he's letting to read. Yes, he gave you a book of letters. I believe you have already returned that quite a long time ago and got the
Did
XP
we?
for it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I see what you mean now. Cool. Welcome back, Bumpkin. I see you've got rid of the aliens. And so, as you return to the tavern in your frippery and finery, the young halfling Henry sort of looks up to you and you're in your finesies. That's
I'm just dressed in whites and browns.
yeah, but it's very fancy whites and browns for Lower City.
I've been wearing this the whole time.
Well, yes and no. You were given an outfit with a bit more lace, a bit more finery at the end of the wrists. Whilst it's whites and browns, you're still in, fine polished boots, lace around the neck, lace at the arms, maybe a little fine tied chest piece. Yeah, it's a little fancy.
Should I be wearing one of those? How do I describe this?
I don't know. Start with some words.
How if a cowboy wasn't gonna wear a suit, but they were gonna dress smart. They don't wear a tie. They wear the thing that dangles down. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I know exactly what it is, but I don't know the name.
Is it a bolo tie?
I'm gonna look it up.
Let's Google.
Hold I swear it starts with a C.
Yes, that is what I'd like to have on my shirt, please.
Yeah, I mean, the shirts that the guys are wearing look a little like image coming in Discord first. Look a little like those. So I don't know how that would look with that, but maybe it'll work. Totally up to you.
Yeah, it would work.
No, that's the sort of lacy. You'd have lace around the arms and neck as well, but in general, that would be the vibe of the sort of top you'd be wearing. Cool. So yeah, he says, "You're all in your findies. You've been to the upper town.
We have.
Will you be requiring dinner tonight?"
No, actually.
Oh, okay. Can I do anything for you?
Yeah.
I believe we need some baths again.
Oh. Right, okay. I need to hire some help for that. A silver piece?
A bathhouse that would be more...
Yeah, there's a bathhouse. You just head out a little, you go outside of here and just cross the road down to the right. There is a bathhouse down there. It's not major fancy like the upper town ones are, but it's nice. That's where we usually hire the help from.
A little simpler.
It'll be a lot cheaper.
Anivari, are you sure? I've heard about these bathhouses.
William, you would have been to many bathhouses and used them.
Many
Yes. Don't try and make them something they're not, because they're not.
Damn it.
Cool. Yeah, it's perfectly normal. They're separated into female and male rooms or
I never
baths.
said they were there for the straights.
No. And their attendants. You can head down there, get yourselves bathed. You will see a couple of commoners down there, but there's sort of like 2 guys in one bath and no women in the baths. The attendants are very friendly, and it will cost you 2 copper pieces each.
I think that's a bit simpler than making them pull baths upstairs.
What did you say, Josh?
I want to pull mine from the group loot.
I said I'm not sure I
Yeah,
need one.
we'll
We
pull
need
it from the
bath-
group loot.
When did we last bathe?
Okay, I still haven't heard anything you said, Josh. How many whats with the what, with the will, with the when, with the when did we last do what?
I said, when did we last bathe?
This morning.
Morning.
Then is this really necessary?
It's a noble thing. You have decided to partake, and so you have partaken.
Alright.
Oh.
If I have no choice.
We've done it now, so the rest of them paid. Yeah, and you can guys can return to the inn and find your dinner clothing. Oh, can I remember which one's
Do we
which?
get to pick?
No, it's this one. It is. Ooh. Dinari,
Quick thing about the prices, though. Are we all taking from? It was the other one. Sorry, are we all taking from the group loot? I think it actually already got calculated.
Yes,
I had personal. I took from my own.
Okay, I'll chuck 2
Yara.
copies.
Look at you with your whole 2 goblin pieces.
Bumpkin, isn't that your eating meal, and the one with the writing was the one for like the bull?
I thought I remembered that. Well, the writing was. You said that was a feasting fit. I think the ball we had an actual picture of like a actual full dress.
Oh, you have a dress, don't you? Yeah. Sorry. So yes, eating food. There we go. There's a Bumpkin 3. Dinari 3. I didn't notice a Dinari 3. I only saw a Dinari 2. And then we have Anivari in the voluptuous sleeves, which make it difficult to eat.
Yeah, just spend your whole time just pulling them up.
Dinari, your outfit would be corseted at the back, just to be really convenient. Probably Anivari's too. And William, your shirt would certainly lace at the back, and you've got over gloves, which are very difficult to put on.
Yeah, I'll need several people.
Sort of Jackson comes and knocks on the door, and I'm just curious. Would you be in need of assistance? I've got a couple of valets that I could. Well, they're not very well trained, but they could give some help.
Could probably figure this out amongst the 4 of us. I mean, it's just clothes.
Oh, okay, very well.
I would like someone, please.
Jackson sort of. Might I assist you?
Very well.
Okay. So yeah, Jackson will sort of come in and go, "Oh, you're all in a communal room with like screens and stuff. That's how provincial." Right. And he will offer to help you. Weary's outfit's pretty simple to put on, but it's a big step up from where it was before. And Anivari and Dinari will help each other.
Sure.
Okay, both of you, give me a charisma check. Either of you, it's a culture check, really. So, if you have it, culture check. If you don't, it's just a charisma check. It's charisma unless you have a thing. At some point, I'm just going to put it on everyone's sheet, even though it makes it say a little scrolly bar. I just think it's an improvement.
I'm sorry, Dinari.
Yeah, I'm sorry too.
Seeing these two fumble with a corset is going to be.
You don't.
Hilarious.
You don't. You just hear frustrated.
Can it not be dex based? Come on.
No, this is trying to work out what goes where. It's not the actual tying of it at all. You're doing great. You've just basically tied her to her own arm. Assuming that you guys rolled badly. You said you rolled badly, but I don't know how badly. What was it?
10.
You got a 10?
9.
Okay. Oh, that's perfectly
No, I got
fine.
a 9. I got a 9.
Okay, so with 2 9s, you are able to work out what goes where. But it's sort of it's very workmanlike the way that you two tie it up. You know, it's not frilly, it's not frippery. There's like double knots tied to keep things simple instead of these nice fancy bows. It's exactly what you'd expect of 2 warrior women dressed up in silly corsets. But you both look very very pleasant. And very sort of, it's a massive step up from the normal outfits we'd see you in. And as the 2 of you come out, Jackson sort of, wonderful. You look wonderful, ladies.
Thank you.
If you look at her, I kind of can't stop doing the whole like taking the cape and like flipping it over and kind of flipping it back a little bit, and like just getting used to the length of it and be like, oh, what's this little cape?
I hope you don't mind. I brought the 2 of you a gift.
Oh, jeez. Well, okay. I mean, I ain't got anything to give back.
No, that's quite okay. It's not from me, it's Henson. But anyway, yes, well, there's this and there's this. And he holds up what's like a sort of scabbard for a sword. And then there's also like a at the hip, sort of a double-tied, intricate bit of leather with a band, which you could sheath any weapon in. But they're like fancy sheaths. Yeah, and that's all they are. They're just fancy sheaths.
This is lovely. I assume it's not fertile. I assume we can't bring anything.
He looks very confused.
Yeah, I'm looking equally as confused. It's just
Sorry, I
like,
don't understand. You
What's
can't
the
bring
point?
anything?
Well, I assume that you don't bring a sword to dinner.
Oh, you assume incorrectly. Many of the nobles will go armed. Unless they have bodyguards.
I'll take it and I'll just start slinging it around me.
say less.
Remember,
how
say
will-
less. I'm in.
How
Yeah.
will they sit if they have?
Traditionally, when you go to sit down, you would place your weapon leaning against the table or leaning against the wall behind you. That's quite normal. In a world of wizardry, if you don't bring your weapon, you can find yourself unarmed against a powerful fighter. Some people always bring their
In
weapons.
front of
to
you
dinner.
for like days now with this thing on my hip.
Yes, there is that. That you did not
Yeah.
disarm to go to the games hall at all.
Always
that was
prepared.
yes. Well, the thing is, right, is that like if you imagine, William, there's nothing that could be taken away from you that would prevent you from being able to kill people on the spot. So it is only fair that everybody else is equally armed.
Sure.
All this whole time I thought we were unarmed.
No.
Well, you
No.
might
In the
not be.
gaming hall, yeah. I was talking like in the Silver Pony, like we've been, sit at this point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true as well. Yeah, but no, in the gaming hall, you would definitely have been armed. There would be no requirement to leave your weapons behind. That being said, it would be a little unusual to take a crossbow or a bow. So, Weary, you may have been unarmed or just had a short sword. Do you have a melee weapon?
I have a scimitar.
So you would have had your scimitar at your hip, but you wouldn't have had a crossbow
Yeah.
on your back, because at that point you just look like an assassin. So, yeah. And of course, Weary is truly unarmed when Tim is not around. Where did Tim go when
Very
you went
true.
gaming?
He was
Yeah.
up above.
He's a
was-
roof sailor,
he was
or-
flying above. He was perched on one of the chimneys that wasn't in use at the time.
I love that.
Just looking around
Talking
and
down it.
being bored because he had no one to peck at.
Yeah, true. Maybe had a fight with a seagull or two.
Yeah,
wait,
maybe
Is Navinia?
destroyed him.
I don't actually
completely.
think Navinia is close enough to the sea to be everywhere in the archipelago is close to the sea. Right. And so you find yourself bathed and dressed and ready for the feast. He will tell you to start at the outside and work your way in terms of knives and forks. And not to drink too much wine. Or if you are going to drink too much wine, make sure you have water in between. It is common decency to make it through the meal before becoming drunk.
In regards to this meal, and I look at the other three, does anybody particularly wish to join me?
I do.
Anybody else? No?
Sorry. I think having two Tieflings up there is just going to kind of
No,
it's
I
gonna
think
make us look
that-
more like a
I
circus
think
act.
you're correct.
I've been building up some rapport with Jaloko. I think it's probably best, at least if I stay down and closer to where he is, continue a chat.
Did you find anything that you think, like anything odd about his behavior?
Well, I mean, he's kind of just about as weird as we were, and at least he seems like he's a real fish out of water down there. Yeah, it's hard to say whether or not he's actually got a malicious bone in his body, especially against Henson, at least. I don't know. We were getting somewhere, but of course things got cut short.
Well, maybe if you can end up sitting nearby, you can continue that rapport.
Seems like he likes to chat, at the least.
Meanwhile, we'll be not doing the job.
Oh, well, just savor your spoils, I guess. See what you can do from afar.
Okay.
I know you seem to have gotten good on good terms with the prince. I mean, that's something. We could use that somehow.
Speaking of, why is he called a prince?
Because he's the son of a... I don't know.
Just to
Right.
make sure you guys know,
where my
he
mind
is the
went.
son of the Lord and Lady of Norvina. You know that. Let me just take you to the world map. This might take a second to load on my screen, so. Let me just zoom out and bring stream there. This is going to take me a while to load. So you're in the region of Karaim. In Karaim, there is no king or queen. You know that there is a lord of Durbin. Sorry, there are 6 lords in Durbin and a duke, who is in charge of the sort of surrounding area, a bit like this. In Norvina, they do have a little bit of sort of ground around, but it's not much. And no sort of town falls under the jurisdiction over a village. Norvina has a lord and a lady, Christina and Martin. Thank you. I was close. But again, no, not a king or queen. I will take a history check from William and Dinari. You're the 2 most likely to know.
6.
Nat 20 for a 22.
Nice. So long ago, long ago, you will remember, William, that the land of Karaim and Voldar and a little bit of Nestre, so basically most of this island, sort of in a triangle like this, and all of this like this, this was all one land. And it was Voldar, it was called Voldar, but it was one whole land. And back then, there used to be a huge city called Helmfirth that sat at the very center of Voldar, which is here. And you'll notice it's now ruins. And back then, there was a king and queen. But that is the last time you knew of any king or queen anywhere near here, except the Queen of Eveslin, which is an elf female. Either way, you know that he is not the son of any of those. He is the son of the Lord and Lady of Norvina. And Prince is not like a colloquial term. It's not like, oh, he could be a lord at some point, so we call him a prince. He would normally be the Lord's son. It's an odd title.
I will give that history lesson to the people.
Great. Love that.
Can you think of any reason, William, why that might be the case?
Why? What would be the case?
Why he'd be called
Why
a
he
prince
might-
when he's not.
Why he'd be called a prince?
Oh. No.
That's okay.
Good.
It's self-proclaimed,
asking.
maybe? Maybe he's just super vain.
Dinari, give me a insight check when you say self-proclaimed. See how much attention you were paying to him.
Ugh. Natural 20!
Wow.
Nice.
You do remember that he did not introduce himself as the prince at all. He introduced himself as Aemon. He was introduced to you as Prince Aemon. So somebody else called him Prince Aemon, but he did not call himself Prince Aemon. So the likelihood that it's self-proclaimed seems unlikely.
People trying to butter him up a little bit. Just, ooh, my prince.
Well, whatever the reason for the title, it wouldn't hurt if we butted him up. That felt sexual. I didn't mean it in that way.
I mean,
Don't
to be
overdo
fair,
it.
He seemed like a bit of a down-to-earth-ish. I mean, it was hard to say, really, but he didn't seem as hoity-toity as the rest of them.
get a better feel from tonight. That also sounded raunchy.
The innuendos are just flying about everywhere.
Is there anything else you guys wish to exchange, say, or do before heading to the banquet hall for dinner?
Ooh, forgot the matter of the sending stones that we had between
Oh,
Jackson
yeah.
and. I'm wondering if Anivari should keep one, and people on the ground should also keep one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just in case anything goes awry.
So it'll be
Yeah, so
Anivari
who
and
has them?
Dinari, or?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. Were they earrings?
Jackson will, in this case, offer you his own. Because at the moment, right, he has one.
Oh yeah, let's hope
And
they go
you
with
guys have the
outfits.
other.
Oh yeah, I mean they can just kind of like pin. I would imagine at least it's like a like. You can
They must
plant
touch
it.
the skin, but and as long as that happens, you can put them anywhere. But
Yeah,
at the
that's
moment,
maybe
Jackson
one.
has the one, and you guys have the other. So they're for messaging Jackson. If you wish to use them to communicate, if you wish to use them to communicate with each other, he will proffer you his if you ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would.
Yeah. He said, "Oh, no problem. If you need anything, you just I don't know, give me a signal, a subtle signal. No falling off your chair or anything, or raising your sword. Just, or shouting my name across the hall. Just, I don't know, look for me, catch my eye or something.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I'll be standing behind Henson's chair, so I'll be readily available. Oh, the seating will be pre-allocated.
Oh,
Well, that throws a wrench in our plan.
oops. So if our
I
spot's
would have an
been
expectation for at least two of us.
I would most definitely expect that that you will find yourselves, Dinari and Weary, facing the royal table, somewhere where they can keep an eye on you and take an interest in you. Probably amongst some of the upper court.
Well, that doesn't make anybody feel like zoo animals.
Oh, well, that is exactly what you are, a novelty.
What's the zoo, Anivari?
We're not into the zoo.
I've not been to many places.
There's a menagerie over at Durban. Quite worth seeing, I understand.
I'd never went in.
More's the pity. Me neither. Ready.
Yep.
He will turn to you, Anivari, and say, "Might I escort you, my lady?" And he will offer you an arm.
Certainly.
As you sort of place your hand on his arm, he sort of looks a little surprised that Anivari knew what to do and didn't refuse or tell him, I can walk myself or anything like that. He sort of, okay.
I will turn to Dinari. May I escort you, my lady?
yeah, I put my hand on your arm. I'll put my arm out and go, "Oh, weary."
You just come in like a tandem three.
Wizard of Oz style.
Wizard of Oz, yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, joy.
So as he escorts you in, you'll notice that as you head in, there is a very strange-looking bard standing to the side. He is human, but he has one half of his face painted with sort of an image of a female, like very feminine features on one side of his face. And his hair is shaved on one side and is long on the other. You will notice that his outfit is a dress on one half, and his other side is a suit. So he's literally, if you only saw him from the side, he could be male or female. He plays a strange-looking lyre, and he appears to be telling a tale as quite a ribald tale. There's a lot of sort of quiet tittering of the tables. As you enter in, a gentleman sort of comes over to you and bows very deeply. And my lady, your drinks will be served at your seat. Who will be escorting? Who will be sitting with you this evening?
William.
Swap Dinari and William. He sort of whispers over to a servant who goes running over and grabs the name tags and goes and puts them in the right place. And he will say, "Well, you will be at the upper table. That lady there will be your personal servant for the two of you. Madam Dinari and Meister Weary, might I escort you to your seats?"
By all means. Before I go, I'll turn to Anivari and be like, "Told you so."
A young girl sort of pops up sort of as you're walking very gracefully. Just a tray is next to your arm should you wish to take a small glass of what looks like pink juice.
Is this the girl he said was our server?
No, this is just a random girl who's just popped. This is for Dinari and Weary. Has popped up offering you a drink.
Oh no, I already. Do these look alcoholic? Because I already engaged in day drinking.
You have absolutely no idea. They're bright pink, like candy pink. They're very, very small as well. They're like little tiny glasses. There might be about 40 mils in there. An ounce.
Do we see anyone else drinking them?
Everyone. Absolutely everyone has one in their hand.
Okay, if everyone's got one, I'm gonna have one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you take a little sip, this is juice of the dragon's tongue. The dragon's tongue is a strange-looking, long, melon-like fruit, in that it's got sort of an outer skin and then a little rind bit, and then a central skin and then pips in the middle. It is quite sweet, but has just a little touch of acidity, making it very enjoyable, very pleasant, and it is most definitely not alcoholic.
Okay.
And you will see that there are pitchers on every table with sort of goblets for water. But every single person is holding these little drinks. It seems like they're all the rave in this particular town. William and Anivari, when you reach the table, it will be... you sort of note that most of the nobles who are going to be sat at the royal table are standing behind their seats and conversing with each other. Nobody is sitting down. William would know 100% that the reason for this is that the Lord and Lady's seat and the Prince's seat are empty. So until they come in, everybody will remain standing and near their seats, and then they will sit after the Lord and Lady have sat. Exactly that. Dinari, you will find that you and Weary are sat next to each other. Weary, you are sat next to Solomon. And next to Solomon is Henson. And Dinari, you are sat next to Jailoko, and right exactly opposite you, with his back to the royal table, is the Baronet Hewlin, and Amasinth. Where you're sitting, you are sort of, your table is to the right. Oh, sorry, you guys are on the right page, are you? Here we go.
On the map still.
Yeah, where you are sitting, the main table, like the head table, is up here. And if you imagine, like Dinari, you've got the second to front seat. So you're like directly in the eye line of the Lord and Lady. So it is Jailoko, and then you, and then Weary, and then Solomon, and then Henson, and then right opposite you at the sort of almost the head of the table is the Baron, and then right at the noble end is Amasin.
Also, like our knees are like almost kind of bumping, kind of. That's like kind of close that we are.
Yeah, I mean, you are pretty. I mean, you're about as close as these people are. So I don't know. There's enough space to shuffle left and right a little bit. You'll see your little name tags. And again, most of these people are standing, but there are a few who are sat. It is clear that while the people at the royal table must wait for the Lord and Lady, some people have been sat here for an hour or two already in the hall drinking. You'll notice some on the commoners. Well, they're not the commoners. They're on the noble tables that are not the head table. I don't know what we call those. On the other tables, there are some light snacks laid out already. Some canapes, some finger food. There's a weird-looking green vegetable that's a little like a cucumber if it had skin all over it. It's like the skin. It's a tiny, thin, like miniature long cucumbers, if you would. And there seems to be a dip, and most people seem to be using those. At the head table, a young lady comes up to Anivari and William and says, "Hello, I'm Mary. I'll be serving you today. Can I get you a drink?"
Thank you. That would be lovely.
We have juice of the dragon's tongue. We have chilled sparkling wine. We have water. We have ale, and I believe there is some apple juice remaining from lunch.
Some sparkling wine for me, please.
That would be lovely. Thank you, Mary.
Would you care for some canapes?
Sure.
I'll bring a
Yes, please.
selection. And she heads off, and it's almost like she may have been gone for about 8 seconds. And then she comes straight back. You would assume that they've got tables of all of the drinks ready and the canapes, and she sort of just grabbed a plate of canapes and 2 drinks, but the comes straight back. She hands you your wine, and she will hand Anivari what did you have? Juice? I've already forgot. Water. She'll hand you the water. And then she hands each of you a sort of very, very thick napkin. And on that napkin are 6 little canapes. They're in little pairs, so you've got a pair of little prawn on pastry things, a pair of what look like sort of mini vegetable skewers, and then a single swirl that looks a little like a shell. And indeed, when you touch it, it is a shell. It's hard.
I lean over to Anivari. Not too bad, eh?
I guess we'll have to figure out what it tastes like first. This is a literal shell.
Well, take a bite. Let me know.
Did you just take a bite of a shell?
Are we still standing behind the chairs with like a drink
Yes.
in one hand and a handful of
Yeah, I put
canapes
the-
in
I
the
put
other?
the-
You will note that many people have put their drink on the table and are eating the canapes.
We're walking around. Hop.
No, most
Okay,
people
yeah,
put
I
their
will-
drink on the table.
I drink out, and I will just sort of investigate the shell.
Yeah, as you pick it up, you will see that there is a little morsel inside the shell on the other side. As you pick it up, it does appear to move.
Mm-hmm.
Did that just move?
I think so.
Is Mary close? Is she?
Yes,
here?
very much so. She's standing sort of. You'll note there are 8 or 10 servants standing in front of the royal table, and they sit in this sort of weird, like they're not actually on one knee, but they're sort of half crouched, so that you can look across the room without looking into their eyes, but they can see you perfectly. It's very weird. It's like she's just a head above a table,
Oh.
just ready
Alright,
there.
well, I'll catch her eye and kind of like nod for her to come over.
She just stands up and she's right in front of you, the other side of the table, and just, "Can I help you?"
Well, what is this? I'll point to the canapé that's moving.
It's got a really long name. Shirelopian.
Shia LaBeouf?
No.
Tasty.
Shirelopian crustacean.
Are we meant to eat it whilst it's still alive?
You just sort of,
Suck the insides out.
you just suck the living creature out and just chew it. That's what she suggests. It's like those little grubs in The Lion King.
Yeah. Where do we put the canapes we don't want?
She makes a gesture and you
Throw
just,
them
you just
behind
chuck
our
them behind your
head.
shoulder, yeah. And you will note that there's a couple of bones at the back of the room and a couple of shells. And there are a couple of little tiny dogs that clearly lap dogs that belong to the ladies that are sort of going and nosing at the different bits.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to just throw it at the wall. I'll just kind of underarm throw it towards the dogs, I guess. That one.
You can turn and throw it towards dogs. It is. She
Yeah.
sort of winces as you do so, because you've just turned your back on the whole room, which is not seen as appropriate, but you've done it, and that's expected. But yes, I mean, for the most part, people do just toss the food over their shoulders. You will see that quite often one of the servants who's not attending somebody specific will come along with a little brush, and he's clearly got something in his hand that looks like a sort of ring with a long piece of metal coming off of it that's enabling him to cast prestidigitation. So he's sweeping and prestidigitating all the time. Sort of sweeping the morsels along, etc. So the floor is very clean. You will notice that behind your table, Dinari and Weary, there are these small sort of like they look like big cups on a stand. And as you look over, you'll see that people have disposed ash in them for when they're smoking on their smoking pipes. You will see that some people have spat in them as spittoons, and some people have placed random things they don't want in there. But you will also see that you have a little side plate, and lots of people at the table have left the shells of the canapes or like other bits that they're not eating on the side plates.
What did the other canapes taste like?
So you've got a prawn. There's a proper word for it. These canapes. It's like a prawn with a little bit of sauce on a piece of pastry. It's got a real name, but God knows what it is. Is really nice. Not the word I was looking for.
Oh, those are fried, aren't those?
Let's have a look. Let's just Google the thing. It won't tell me what it is. Tostadas, that's what it is. It's a little tostada. So it's just like a little thing. Yeah, it's nice. It's very, very simple. A little bit like a mini prawn mayo sandwich. The skewered vegetables are just like a little vegetable kebab, very tasty. Do you suck the crustacean or do you just toss it?
I will.
Yeah, Anivari, I know you've already thrown yours at the dog. Yeah, you do. And as you
look, and then I'll just sort of shrug.
It doesn't move much in your mouth, and as soon as you bite into it, you sort of get this burst of flavor. It's clearly, whilst it's alive, it has been partially cooked, so it is still a little warm. And as you bite into it, it's sort of like it oozes out this sort of very fishy flavor with a sort of slightly sweet aftertaste. It's pretty nice.
I mean, fish is literally my favorite food, so.
Oh, well, you're a better woman than I.
It's actually not bad.
As soon as you finish your 6, you've only had one of them, but yeah, if either of you finish your 6, or if anyone does, at the royal table, you'll notice that immediately Mary will scurry off, come back, and proffer you another napkin. If you'll notice, plenty of nobles just sort of put their hand up and then they take it away again.
What does the sparkling wine taste like?
Like sparkling wine. It's just a nice white sparkling wine. I do not know how to describe the flavor of a sparkling wine.
Is it sweet? Is it?
No, it's very like a sort of champagne. It's not bitter, but it's certainly not a sweet drink.
It's tart.
Yeah. Dinari and Weary, as you find your places, you will note that Solomon and Henson are already in place, as are the Baronet and Amercent, but Jailoco is conspicuously absent.
I'll look to Dinari. Well, that sort of puts a peg in something, but I suppose we better brave it.
Maybe he's just one for grand entrances. I don't know.
There are a few people who haven't arrived yet, but this high up, it does look like most of the spaces are lower down. It's a little surprising. You may also find a little surprising that he's sat so high up. Maybe so they can keep an eye on him. Maybe so because he's interesting. You're not so sure. Yeah, as the jester finishes his tale, you will hear a sort of herald, and just as the trumpet starts, you just see Jailoco sort of scurrying down really quietly, and he's sort of trying not to be noticed by anybody, and then he scurries behind his table. Just, oh, my lady, you look nice. Remembering that you don't want fabulous comments, and he's just compliments. I was a little late. I was held up, but I'm glad to be here now. Shall we? Shall we sit? Seem a little.
Sure. Are we to sit now? Sorry, there's also like trumpets going on. I imagine someone else is coming in that we're gonna have to stay up.
And as he sort of looks back, you hear, sort of very heraldic. And the Lord and Lady, Christina and Martin, will walk in. They are very plainly dressed. The lady is in a fairly simple robe-like dress with long sleeves. But you will note that it is completely white. And she has a gold buckle at the center. So did you know those sort of ancient Greek dresses with the sort of single gold circle and she's very much like that. She wears no jewelry at all. And yet she is stunningly beautiful. You almost can't take your eyes off of her. The gentleman at her side is wearing a very simple black doublet with silver all the way up it. He wears gold at his wrists and he has a sort of gold cloth of gold belt, and then sort of black breeches with gold buckled boots. They are quite the sight. Even though they're in plain dress, it is very grand the way they look, and very beautiful to take in, really. A little in their wake, sort of 3 or 4 steps behind, is Aemon, the prince. He is wearing a deep red long tunic and black hose, and then these sort of brown and black boots. He has his hair tied back, and he's wearing quite a lot of jewelry. But he walks sort of quite plainly, and he stops a couple of times to talk to various people along the way and, greet them and say good evening and such. He's very casual, despite this sort of procession of the Lord and Lady up the long carpet all the way to the table. He just doesn't seem too bothered, really. And is just chatting away, and he stops at various places, and then the Lord and Lady sort of stand behind their chairs, and then they walk in front of them as the servant takes their seat. Weary, give me a perception check. And Dinari, sorry.
Oh, bugger. 5.
8.
8. Jaloko's twitching weirdly, but you can't quite work out what's going on. And then as the Lord and Lady take their seats, lots of other people will sit down, and you'll just see him sort of Jyloko give an almighty heave as he tries to pull his leg backwards. It looks like the lace at the bottom of his breeches has got caught under one of the chairs. And just as Henson goes to sit down, his chair gets sort of yanked inwards, and he sort of sits and flops into the table and bumps it, and everything sort of rocks. And you can see Jyloko sort of untying the bottom of his breeches. He actually just takes a dagger and just cuts the last bit of the tie. As you see Henson sort of with his injured wrist crushed into the table. He sort of, Jyloko turns to you, "Oh, I seem to have got myself tangled up."
For a second there, I thought you had a massive cramp or something.
No. You will note that next to Henson, one seat down, is Remfrey. And Remfrey's sort of chair it seems to be ruckled in the carpet, and he's sort of shuffling about a bit, trying to work it out. You're unsure which of them caused this crash. Anivari and William, you were able to sit with the noble set, but the prince hasn't quite got to his seat yet. And a reminder that it will be Anivari, then the prince, then the queen. The queen, then the lady. Sorry, not the queen. Confused myself now. So you can sit, but he will take his time, and he sort of comes around, and he stops in front of your table, very weirdly leaning over Mary, and just sort of, well, good evening. Are you comfortable?
Quite.
Oh, good.
Very, thank you.
Very glad. William.
Oh, was he not talking to me too?
No. He just sort of acknowledges you now. He wasn't talking to you at all. No. He just sort of, but he doesn't take it rudely at all. He just sort of acknowledges you. I'm very glad that the lady saw fit to bring you to the upper table. I'm sure we'll get to know each other well this evening. How are you? Are you enjoying your return to luxury?
You see, William's kind of sheepish as he says that. It's nice to be in court.
A place that you fled, I hear. Although I have little of the tale, I'm sure you can regale us with it over the course of the evening, although I'm sorry, dear, you've probably heard it quite a few times, he says to Anivari, and smiles, who of course has heard a very shortened version of it once. Once and a half, actually. And he sort of comes around the table and he takes his seat and he looks over to the young boy who's sat opposite, sort of just crouching down and just says, no canapes, I'll take water, please. And his mother sort of looks to him. Drinking water, Prince Aemon? Are you feeling ill? Is your stomach a little tender? No, Mum. No, Mother, not at all. I'm just... thought I'd take it easy this evening. I see no reason for wine every night. She said, but you're the prince. No, you should regale in luxury and finery. I like your choice of earrings. You'll see he has these gold bangles with a sort of red stone, and he says... Ah, yes, that lad at the tailor's gave them to me. He said that he'd put them aside for me, thought they would suit me. Sort of looks and... You're receiving gifts from commoners? Yes, sometimes. Besides, every month we receive many gifts from the commoners, and those who don't pay all their taxes in cold, hard coin. It was Father's idea, as you remember. That is different. That's a gift for the land, not just... and this conversation goes on. He just sort of, after a little while, goes, Mother, please, we have new guests. I'd very much like to spend my evening getting to know them, as opposed to having the same conversation that we tire out day after day. And he sort of very promptly turns his head to you. And Anivari, is this your first time sitting in Upper Court?
Yes. How did you know?
Well, it was merely a courteous question. I didn't know at all. You'll find it a pointless amount of frippery and ostentatiousness. Don't worry too much about it. Just try not to take any of it too seriously. Most people here take themselves far too seriously. He turns back and sort of gives a glare to his mother, but she's engaged in conversation elsewhere.
You seem... rather comfortable for all
Should
of
I
this.
not be? This is my home. And one day these people will be my flock to tend. I should be most comfortable amongst them. Commoners and nobles alike, I should add.
Do you visit the lower city often?
Not as much as I'd like. My mother is rather reluctant to allow me down there.
But surely, as everybody is a citizen of this town, surely they would all have some equal opportunity.
You would hope so, wouldn't you? And perhaps in time they might. Although, I suppose it might be some time. Nevertheless, I agree with you. I think that there should be opportunity for everyone equally, and should somebody in the lower city wish to petition me, well, they can hardly make it into the upper city, some of them, so I should be available for them to speak to me when I go down there. And you just hear his mother sort of butt in and, we can't have you visiting peasants! You'll be wanting to work on the farms next! Goodness sake. You're the prince. Behave like it. She goes back to eating before he can even reply, and he just sort of rolls his eyes to you. And as you can see, my mother has me on a little bit of a short leash. Speaking of short leashes and mothers, you were going to regale us with your tale, Mr. Hale.
As he says, speaking of short leash mothers, I choke on my sparkling wine.
A little bitter today, is it?
Surely such a, I wouldn't really call it a story.
A saga, perhaps?
Entertain you with other tales.
Well, indeed, I understand that you fought a giant creature in an inn room, no less. That happened? Or was that telltale from the lower town?
That is true.
Well, tell us of the battle. And he says this to you, William, and then turns to Anivari. It's not rude, but it's getting close to rude, where he sort of brings the conversation back to her. He's obviously very interested in anything she has to say, and he's trying to include you as a courtesy. But if you a reminder, he was badgered into allowing you to sit at the table.
Yeah, as he looks back towards Anivari, I'll just look away and like take another drink and let her talk. I'll just like look towards.
Do you regale him with the tale, Anivari?
I will tell him, and I'll occasionally like try to lead in a bit where William could take a sentence or two, just a little something. Like, I don't know how much he wants to describe like the ways that he's helped fight things. I don't know that he would mention anything at all, but
That is a question, actually. I'm not going to ask for details of the description, but would you mention your magic? And
I
in
would.
what light?
I mean, I wouldn't want to like impose too much on the conversation, but I would describe my magic in the most broadest basic sense. I wouldn't describe it in any particular.
I cast a simple
fashion,
cantrip.
Just that,
you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
As this conversation's going on, Jailoko turns to you, Dinari, and says, quite fine seats we find ourselves in.
Quite lucky. I
Right.
find that they're prearranged. Do you know the... Oh, what's the word? Sorry, the formula is what I was thinking of. Do you know the formula for...
I believe the seneschal, he's over there. And he'll point you towards an incredibly ostentatious-looking high elf. He's got this sort of plumed hair that doubles back twice. He's wearing sort of long, dangly earrings, but very plain clothing. So he's very ostentatious-looking, but he's wearing very simple clothing. And you'll see he's sort of standing rigidly. He's stick-thin. He's got a permanent scowl on his face, and he's just at the entrance to the servants' quarters. That's the seneschal. He deals with the seats, though. He takes instruction from the nobles and mostly from the prince. He likes to arrange things differently each night, though if the lord and lady have a say, it will always override anyone else's word, of course.
Mm. So it was mainly those three's choice. And I'm pointing to...
We are here because the prince wants us here. But why? I'm not so sure. Have you done something to please the prince? And he looks over to Weary, trying to include him in the conversation.
Me?
Perhaps.
I don't-
Perhaps you, perhaps Dinari. Certainly not I. He smiles.
Yeah, I don't think it was me.
I believe I am a showpiece. Something different, a spice for their bread.
I look to Dinari and I'd sort of make a bit of an eye at, at a being the like showpiece to like that's us. But
Ah, well.
then
I would like to think that
You
they
know.
placed you here because they would like your company, but perhaps they are as blind as the rest of the court.
A little bit of an eye roll at that moment, but not not too mean.
I had hoped they would place me here for my company, but seeing as they have not seen fit to talk to me, only to stare at me for the last few weeks, I don't think it's the company thing.
Few weeks. That's quite a long time to be around here.
I have been placed at various different places and points, so that everybody could get an equal stare, but as yet the prince has only engaged me in conversation once. Unlike your friend up there. Are you nervous on her behalf?
Seen her take on worse. I think she'll be fine.
Ah,
Ooh.
so they say you're mighty warriors. You fight? As a group?
Well, somewhat.
only when we have to.
Ah, well, that is the best time to fight. I fought once. It was not a glamorous affair.
Never is.
No. Have you been in a city when it is sieged?
Okay to say I haven't.
This is good. He sort of nods and he looks incredibly sad for a few moments. And then sort of nods. But it has given me the opportunity to travel elsewhere and see the world. So I am grateful.
No of traveling, though. At least from what I was able to glean from what you told me about your people's ways, I really didn't expect to meet you in a place like a noble court. I mean, if anything, I kind of expected to see you on the road. I hope that's not an
But
offense.
many of my people travel to see the world and to see its artifacts and its geography. Some go to see its landmarks. I like to see its people. And I find that the best and worst of people are at the courts. Besides, where else would I make my money?
And how do you make your money?
Well, there is the games in the afternoon and the games in the evening. And the games in the evening are played for cash. And Jaloco always wins.
I don't know, you didn't do too well this afternoon. What makes you so certain you're going to win tonight?
Well, those are games of the common folk. And they are fun, but they are not played for stakes. At the table of cards, Jaloco always wins.
Interesting.
It is equal parts reading the people, knowing your strength, and holding true to a course.
More mind games, just now you have props.
Gives you a little sort of side tilt. And a little bit of risk-taking and danger. Do you enjoy danger, Dinari?
I'd like to mostly live out my days trying to avoid it.
Do you find yourself
Danger brings fun.
feeling most alive on the edge of a knife in battle, or do you find your joys in the times of peace and quiet?
I guess it's a combination of both. I find myself at joy bringing peace and quiet by kind of, sometimes it puts me in dangerous situations, but I'm protecting that peace.
But you are a woman of action, no? Not sit still and read in quiet contemplation for the rest of your years, it would seem.
My skills are born out of necessity, not a need for adrenaline.
Very well. And you, Weddy? Where do you take your pleasure?
Take my pleasure wherever I can get it, mate.
And what brings you the most pleasure, Weddy?
That's a good question. I think that my whole life has been trying to search for that very answer to that very question.
Then you, like Jaloco, will do much traveling and much seeking.
Potentially.
Perhaps that is where you are at your happiest. Upon the road, seeking more. Well. And as he's speaking, like this conversation seems quite interesting, and he's taking a general interest in you, and then just cutting across. The Baron sort of looks over and... So what do you do, Weary?
Me?
Yes, what do you do?
I was a merchant sailor.
Oh, you seem to have been landed.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. Now I've been traveling around and...
Were you tossed from your ship? Rejected by your crewmates?
No, but for a moment the ship I was on seemed to fall on hard times.
Oh, were you the cause?
I hope not.
And now you are an ex-sailor. You do nothing?
I think me and my new crew here go around and do things to make the world a little bit safer.
How gauche. He looks to Dinari and says, and do you only fight, or do you have other skills in your arsenal?
Definitely not a one-trick pony.
Right. So, your other skills? What else have you practiced? What have you learned?
As much as she's trying to say, like, yeah, I got more skills, it's like, no, most of my skills are related to combat.
Sort of, oh, well, that's a shame. He sort of looks over at you and, do you know why your friend is summoned to the high table?
Talking about Anivari?
Yes, unless you have other friends. Also at the high table.
She earned it.
He gives you a sort of a very confused looking, how so?
Are you not familiar? Were you not around for the games just a few hours ago?
I win on a regular basis. I don't get invited to sit next to the prince and play lapdog. She's a novelty, darling. A showpiece.
Maybe people are just bored of you winning.
Maybe the prince is bored and Anivari is there for a momentary piece of mental diversion. She will be discarded, and soon. Trust me. Nolvinia values beauty, and... well...
Hank her to be some sort of hangers-on.
He looks to Amacinth and he sort of... that is why Amacinth is going to thrive here. She is the most beautiful woman here, don't you think? Amacinth sort of looks a little sheepish. She said, look, nonsense. The Lady Christina is a beauty unmeasured and unrivaled. Your beauty is unique, Dinari. Are you considered beautiful by your own people?
I haven't really met any more of my own people.
Oh. Were you an urchin?
Family made home at a place down south relatively recently.
Oh, so your parents are... you know your parents and they are like you. You just mean no others.
I guess we didn't... I guess we never really got much clarification on how much... or how... I guess, no, we got that tieflings are mainly kind of up...
No tieflings in Durban apart from your family.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep.
But she sort of misunderstood you and thought you meant it was just you. But I suppose your parents would always consider you beautiful. Although, and then she just looks to Weary. Perhaps not always. And as this sort of snide snipping goes on, Jailoko keeps trying to engage you in diversion and sort of interesting conversation. He takes a real vested interest in you. And we will come back to that in a moment. But Anivari, as the prince is sort of chatting away to you and you're regaling him with tales of battle, he will tell you that it is his will and want to go out adventuring on the road for a year or two. He says, you know, it'll be years before I'm anything really important here, and I'd like to go to see, you know, the ruins of Helmfirth and much else besides. Have you travelled far in your time?
Not very far. Should you not ensure the safety of your own surrounding areas first?
Indeed, but
There are men who have been slaughtered on the roads into Norvina just this week.
yes, our court mage has been out on the road investigating it. We haven't seen him in almost 6 days now. And he has a contingency of soldiers at his hand. I'm afraid my desires to adventure are not for the sake of securing peace for the land or putting down mighty beasts, but merely for my own pleasure. I don't think my sword arm would be much help in a true battle for peace. I have trained only to duel fairly and honourably with others in the court. Not a real battle. Nonsense, darling, his mother sort of cuts over. Nobody is your equal with a sword. Yes, if you can call that paper-thin needle true sword. And he'll gesture and he'll show you his rapier, and it's like this tiny, thin fencing rapier. And you could kill somebody with it quite easily, but against a sort of monster in the wilderness, you'd have to be incredibly talented to use that to kill them and not get hurt.
Perhaps I could show you a thing or two.
That would be my absolute honor. We have a sparring hall. I attend there between 11 and 1. Perhaps a little early before the court come and observe. We might go a round or two in quiet. You don't want to be caught at the sparring hall by older nobles, or they'll all want to watch you fight. Unless that, of course, is something you'd like.
No.
Oh, good. I'm glad I haven't
Early is not
misjudged you.
good.
Do you fight, William?
Not in the martial sense. No.
Ah, a true adventurer. You're specialized in the arts magical and have no need for a sword.
Correct.
I bet the four of you are quite a powerful group. What does Weary do? Your act. Act? Is that the right word?
Troop, perhaps, might be closer than act.
What does he do in your troop?
He is excellent with a crossbow.
Oh? I thought they were the weapon of assassins. You will know that he's talking about a hand crossbow.
Larger crossbows.
A true marksman. Is he a man of the wilderness?
Oh, yes.
That would explain his thatched look when he first arrived. And Dinari, like you, fights with a weapon, face to face.
Any weapon she can get her hands on.
Formidable, I imagine. I can't help but notice you don't seem to have a cleric or a priest, in the traditional sense. I thought most adventuring troops utilized somebody of the arts divine. How do you get along without that?
Well, we didn't exactly plan for this.
Oh, you didn't?
We just sort of occurred.
You
didn't
occurred?
enact.
Oh. I see. How did that come about? You just bumped into each other at a crossroads? And onwards?
We met on a caravan.
Right. Were you all guards? The caravan?
No, not all.
I see. Well, circumstance brings together the strongest of groups, I understand. Easier to forge a bond based on shared experience than on cold-hearted planning. So, what on earth convinced you to enter the court of Nolvinia? Not that we're not happy to have you, of course.
New experience?
I can think of 1,000 things more interesting. Hell, why not take up juggling?
Ooh, that sounds fun. Maybe tomorrow.
This is a place of backstabbing and politics and very little of actual interest.
I don't know. I think some of us are learning. And I'll look over at Dinari.
Your friend has made friends with Jailoco.
I think so.
He
I haven't
interests
had
me a
much
lot.
chance-
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
I
you.
haven't had much chance to converse with him, but he seems interesting.
He does. Fascinating, in fact. I would very much like to spend some time speaking to him. Unfortunately, he is... I have been told that that is not okay. Consider you my act of rebellion, in the nicest possible way. My mother was very quick to tell me I wouldn't be speaking to Jailoco. Yes, because first of all it would be speaking, and secondly you'd be gaming with him, and suddenly we'd be out of a fortune. No. The man is dangerous and a cheat at cards.
He wins often.
He doesn't win often. He wins always. She doesn't meet your eye, Anivari. She sort of looks at your dinner plate.
Surely a cheat would know to lose some.
She sort of sighs as if like, oh god, I've got to talk to the peasant. He doesn't win every round, but at the end of each evening, he is always up in pocket.
The smartest way to play.
It is impossible. You don't seem to be touching your forme de verre. And you'll see this dish has been placed in front of you just only moments ago. And she's just trying to divert you towards your food, like sort of go eat. But there's this, it looks like an entire lettuce has been cut in half and then placed face down on your plate. You've all four of you have got this dish. Dinari, Jaloka will sort of look to it and you, and that's different.
It's just a thing of lettuce.
Ah, but is it? Mystery is always underneath, don't you think? And with that, he sort of takes his knife and he peels back the outer layer of lettuce, and you'll see that there is a sort of layer of what looks like bacon. And then, if you were to turn it over, you would see that it's basically lettuce, bacon, cheese, lettuce, bacon, cheese, lettuce, bacon, cheese. And then at the very center is a sort of large meatball. It's like a bunless burger that you can cut into with a knife.
Is Jaloka doing the reveal of the lettuce with like any sort of flair? Or is it just
he is. Every layer, he's just peeling back with the knife, one after another after another. He's going, look, endless excitement and a repetition. Excitement and a repetition.
Oh!
A meatball. He looks over to Weary and...
Whoa!
Do you eat like this on your travels?
Well, we eat what we can get a lot of the time. But I whip up some things, you know.
Oh, you cook?
Here and there. I do.
We must meet tomorrow afternoon. I have a place I am staying. I'm staying in the court, but I am staying in a room on the second floor, and the fourth room on the left-hand side. You can ask any of the servants; they will show you to my room. I have a collection of herbs and spices from all over the world. I would love to share some with you and their secrets. Cooking is my absolute passion, more so than cards.
No, you're probably better at it than me then. I just make sure we all get a hot meal at the end of the day.
Traveling, I have spent much time forgetting much of what I learned, but in my hometown, I was a chef once at the noble court. He looks terribly sad again.
I'm sorry to...
Look like, oh, we did it again.
No, I'm sorry to make you reminisce in memories that you'd probably wish to forget, mate.
It was a wonderful place. I wish to carry it with me forever in my dreams.
Going back to beauty before, I bet it was beautiful.
It was. Alas, it is no longer. And he will sort of reluctantly, but then quite passionately tell you of his homeland. The place is called Nimar, and it is next to Mount Karat. It's in the very south of the archipelago, and it was destroyed about 15 years ago. Completely by the warlords of Marigal. Couple of spellings for you on that, just so that you've got the information. Nimar destroyed by the warlords of... Cool. As you see this lettuce face down on your plate, William and Anivari, what doest thou?
I think I will just take a fork and just sort of poke it under the edge and sort of tilt it up.
Yours is
covering something like an upside down bolt.
Yours is much like the ones that you see at the lower tables. The only difference is that within the meatball, which is half a meatball, you have a large poached egg. So you have egg, meat, cheese, bacon, and lettuce. I am fucking starving all of a sudden.
Can't imagine why. Does everybody in the court eat so much every day?
Well, this is the second, I mean, if you count the canapes, of 6 courses. Truth be told, much of the court leave much of the food. But it is good because, well, much of the servants and the people of the house, they eat those things. And with that, he sort of pushes the entire lettuce dish towards the serving boy who sat like opposite him. And the boy just sort of lights up, takes the plate, goes into the kitchen, and you know he's going to get the whole dish untouched. His mother sort of turns to him disgusted. That was one of the dishes the chef specifically wanted you to try today. Mother, I can't always eat like a prince. I am not one. I'm just one of the court. And why not let the boy have a lovely meal? Perhaps his earnest and honest opinions to the chef and his gratitude will be much more of a symbol of recognition than my cold-hearted words passed to you, passed to a seneschal, passed to the serving boy, passed to the chef. By the time it gets to him, it'll be like Chinese whispers. He'll think I've complimented on his earrings.
You could speak to him yourself.
Would that would be more accepted? Why don't you speak to the chef yourself, Mother, occasionally? You are so demanding of him, after all. He barely sees your coin, let alone your face. He sort of blows air out at her and then just turns back and... Do you find it pleasant, Anivari? The food, that is. Not this constant bickering.
The food is delectable.
I'm glad. I must say that for one first visiting court, you seem awfully comfortable with some of its stranger rituals. Are you deceiving me? You passed through these areas before.
I'm good at forcing myself to feel okay.
Good at forcing yourself to feel okay. Is there a tragic tale behind that?
No. I smile. Very clearly lying.
Give me a deception check.
14.
Very well. Not all of us wish to share our tragic tales. He looks very pointedly at William. You need to unmute your microphone if you wish to parlay.
No, I'm not looking in their direction. This whole time I've mostly just been like quietly eating and iconically pouting as I seem to always be doing.
Just to give you guys a little bit of escape of the way of the land. So there are 6 seats either side of the Lord and Lady. So on your side, it is just William, Anivari, and then the Prince, and then there's the Lady, the Lord. And on the other side, you'll see there's a man who looks a little like the Lord, but younger, who you would assume is his brother. There is a very, very elderly-looking man with the longest, most thin beard you've ever seen. It just goes on and on and on. He's actually sort of got it on the table at the moment, sort of twirling between some dishes. And next to him is a lady who looks incredibly shy. You haven't seen her at all in court so far. She might be in her 30s, but she's very mouse-like. She sits very quietly, eating at her food next to the elder gentleman. She says nothing throughout the entire meal.
Alvin?
No.
No.
No. Definitely human or Kalishtar or something of the similar. She's got round ears. The gentleman also human. The Lord and Lady and the Prince and the brother are...
Kalashtar?
I think they're elves.
No, they are both.
Half
Oh.
Kalashtar, half
Elf.
elves.
Exactly that.
Elf.
They're half elves, but Kalastari born.
Ah.
Fascinating.
He will tell you that quite happily.
So they've got pointed
so-
ears and white hair.
The lady, what do you call her? Karina. The lady
Yes.
Christina has long blonde hair. The Lord Martin does have white hair. His grandparents were pure Kalastars. And if you even mention a slight bit of heritage interest, the prince is able to recount it sort of very factually. He seems quite bored by the topic, but he'll tell you very quickly that basically his mother and her grandmother were from the elven city far to the right, something. Sorry, my names are hard. Go to the right. Yveslin, the Diamond of the Woods. She was one of the younger daughters there, so she was royalty there. A granddaughter of the Queen of Yveslin. And his father is from Goldtown. Well, his great grandfather is from Goldtown, and came here to establish the sort of Kalastari thing, and then they, the grandmother and the grandfather became elf Kalastari-nists, and now they're just inbreds. Always marrying a cousin or a brother or something weird like that.
Given the longer lifespans of your people, are you not still closely related to the Queen, relatively?
Met her a couple of times, but when elves marry non-elves, they forsake their line.
Unfortunate.
My great grandfather, I think, and my grandmother's mother, were the Lord and the King and Queen of Helmsworth.
Really?
My mother and father reuniting brings the line back together. It is why my mother has bestowed this ridiculous title on me.
Ah, I see. I've had wondered.
Quite embarrassing, to be honest. Prince of what? So many might ask. Prince of a ruins I've not seen or visited. Ah, but it won't be all that long before we raise the soldiers and hire the correct people to rid those ruins of their haunting, and then we will reclaim them in your name. Yes, mother. And we shall ride dragons to the west.
The ruins are haunted.
Haunted is a strange word for it. They are overrun by trolls.
That's a
But there
very different problem.
There are strange
Still a
mists
problem.
that are said to be part of the reason why the trolls thrive and part of the reason why people say they're haunted. Frankly, nobody gets close enough to the trolls to find out if there are ghosts at their house.
I would see why.
Yes. But nevertheless, we're going to raise an army out of seemingly nowhere, hire some highly magical adventurers in 16 levels time, and rid Helmsworth of every troll there ever was, and then raise a ruinous castle out of the city, and then, as I say, we'll ride dragons to the west and rename ourselves the Lord and Lady of the Seven Kingdoms, or something stupid like that.
And expect the region to fall
Just
under...
buckle on down, yes, and exactly. And restore the ancient rule that was oh so wonderful for them. Back when the Kalastarian elves forced near pure racism over the entire continent, instead of just over Nolvinia. The lady Christina sort of stands up, and I do believe I feel a little ill. I'm going to retire. She casts her son a cold look and leaves. There's a brief moment as she walks down that it's sort of like a Mexican wave. Each of the regular nobles that she passes sort of stands up, nods, sits down again, stands up, nods, sits down again. So you just see this wave. Dinari and Weary, give me a dex save. Let's see if you can get up quickly enough for it to be relevant.
Yeah, I got an 18.
Love that.
Oh, I got an 8.
Yeah. So what happens is Jyloko stands up, and then Weary, sort of seeing this, stands up and nods, and then next to him, Solomon, who has, by the way, sat slightly away from you, Weary, and not spoken a word to you, stands up, and then Dinari sort of awkwardly gets up and looks like, ooh, and then just sort of quietly sits back down again. Jyloko sort of, you'll expect it next time. Don't worry about it. So are you enjoying the food?
Oh, my lettuce, cheese, bacon. Yeah.
Yes, and subsequently these large turkey drumsticks.
So, which course are we on right now?
4, I believe. You would have had the canapes, then you had this lettuce, and then you had a very small bowl of gazpacho, which was a sort of green gazpacho, just as a palate cleanser, which you think might have been cucumber with parsley and cucumber.
Oh, shit.
Flavored with... Oh? Really hate gazpacho, Bumpkin? I think she thinks that she was DC'd before we noticed she was DC'd. Shit, she said, and never returned. We will be right back. Hello, welcome back, gazpacho. Gazpacho, shit. Second course. Oh shit. Parsley and cucumber flavored. Followed by a large pair of turkey drumsticks in the commoners' aisles. In the lower tables, you'll have a pair of big turkey drumsticks. And some crushed potato. On the upper table, this is quail. And it's 5 little wings of quail. And little quail eggs are nestled inside sort of like a large creamy mashed potato. This is followed by the second palate cleanser, which is on the on the upper table. It's this cube. It looks like a little gelatinous cube. It's like blue and wobbly, and it's a jelly that literally it's got a enchantment on it that literally cleans your mouth. On the lower tables, this is just mint jelly. And then the last main course is a spiced rice dish on the lower tables, with a sort of strange... you're not exactly sure what the meat is, but it's some sort of large bird, potentially like an ostrich. On the upper table, you have the same thing, but it's just separated out. So you've got this like cake of rice that's got these spices in it, and then on the side you have this sort of actual sort of steak of this meat, which looks again like you'd think it might be like an ostrich or something similar. And then placed on top of that, on the upper table, is a sort of strange sort of caviar, I guess. They're small little balls of flavor that season the meat, and some vegetables, and then that is taken away, and the final course is dessert, which at the upper table is in a wine glass, and at the lower table is in a sort of fluted goblet, if you will, made of wood, not or metal, not wood and metal, sorry, not of glass. But the dish is actually the same, and it's basically sponge cake, cream, and sort of slightly tart orange sauce, and then layers of that all the way up. It is the full meal. Jyloko will turn to you, Weary, and say, you have travelled far and wide, but have you been to see the witch? She is quite close. Witch of the Woods.
Oh, the witch?
Yes.
No, we took a bit of a... We've been around here and there, but no, I don't our journeys haven't taken us to her yet. perhaps in the near future.
You should. She's
We'll go and see it.
fascinating. Though, do yourselves a favor. Visit her before you ever visit the Tower of Zadicus. Zadicus is an amazing man, but I understand there is a big rivalry between them, and well, I was deemed to be on Zadicus's side. She was quite ribald in her cursing of me as she sent me from her land.
Oh, like actual curse?
I was cursed by a witch. Remfrey sort of pipes up. Bad luck for 7 years, for all those around me. But it doesn't seem to have taken effect.
Just out of curiosity, how many years ago was this curse?
Almost 2. That's Remfrey telling you. Jailoka will say, I went there about 3 months ago.
Give a bit of like a look to Weary.
Yeah.
This witch, she has real power, but alas, I think I just disgruntled her enough to chase me from her land.
Okay.
Nothing bad has fallen upon me at all, so. Apart from some of the company here, but I don't think she made the curse, so that. He looks very pointedly right across the table at Hewlin.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, we definitely have to meet this witch before going to the tower.
Yes, you should. Take a cake. She likes cake, I hear.
Okay, we'll take her a cake. Good to know. Remfrey.
Yes.
what
His quiet
made you
voice
visit?
barely carries across. I went seeking a favor.
Favor. Care to share what the favor, what you needed a favor for, or?
He goes bright red. I was seeking someone like me. I wanted the power to know if they were like me.
I don't quite follow, mate. But
He means
it's
that
all-
he sleeps with men. The Marcus would say quite. The Baron would say quite loudly.
Oh. And?
No, just men. No, and.
No. But you said that. If I may, if I may say,
I'm
so
sure you will
myself,
do what
said-
you want, regardless of whether you may or may not. Go on.
You just said that, like there's some sort of, that's not a thing that happens also, or you were,
Most people are discreet enough to at least keep it to themselves.
Why is that necessary?
It's unnatural.
Care to explain how?
Do you have a mother, Weary?
Yes.
Yes, most people do. It's the natural occurrence of things.
Not everything has a mother.
Well, when you sleep with a man and eject a child out of your arse, do inform the court. It'll be worth listening to. In the meantime...
I didn't mean to offend, but I'm just simply saying that...
I doubt
some
you
things
ever
are made
do.
out-
And yet your
I'll
face
just-
does it all on its own.
Well, I mean, you point out about beauty and such, and I would say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and if I ever meet one, I'll ask it what it thinks is beautiful.
I look forward to the day you find the eye of a beholder, although I cannot think of a less exciting statue.
But let me just say, some things are born out of magical means, and do not have no mothers. So I was just simply stating a fact.
Pray you do not use magic or a woman to procreate.
So if you don't procreate, if you don't do the deed to procreate, it's unnatural.
Oh, if you don't, it would be perfectly acceptable. We don't need more people like you. But personally, yes, I would regard that as the natural occurrence. Anything else is best kept to, young parties before resuming a more natural course and keeping it to oneself. A little bit of experimentation, sure, is perfectly natural, but after that, it is time to move on to the expected behaviour. Or not, as Renfrew might be concerned, but alas, he is enough of a sport to at least keep us all entertained in his various ways, and so we accept him, don't we? Don't we, Renfrew? Oh yes, so accepting. He sort of gives a little smile. Anyway, so I went to the witch, seeking... Do you mind if I... And he just sort of changes his mind halfway through his sentence. He gets up and he comes around. He's going to stand at the end of the table, next to the three of you, and sort of talk more quietly. I went to the queen because... To the witch. Who the fuck's this queen we keep talking of? I went to the witch because I wanted to be able to detect if anybody else, like me, wanted to... I don't just want to sleep with a man. That is not the purpose, I want somebody to love and who loves me back. And, well, men like me are not common in these parts. So, before I made a fool of myself, I wanted to be able to recognize another one. The witch told me that I needed to grow a spine. Get out of there and seek love on my own accord. That she wasn't just a mere cheap trickster, there to assist with sordid acts. I tried to convince her otherwise with some pointed remarks about her lack of a partner. And she was most definite in her cursing of me and telling me to leave.
Well, I'd say it's only natural that you'd want such a thing. And I'll look at Hewlin as I say that.
He is paying you no mind and is sort of gazing sappily into Amerasynth's eyes. Renfrew will tell you, I did steal something from the witch, though. On my way out. I think it's why the curse hasn't affected me.
Okay.
Can I show you?
Yes.
He sort of takes out this really delicate white stone with hundreds of colored runes all over it, magical runes. They're magical. Jailoko sort of gasps and he says, "This is a stone of good luck."
Wait, Jailoko said that?
No, Renfrew says it.
Okay.
You would recognize these.
Yeah.
I believe. Is this my campaign, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. I always panic at this moment when I'm trying to think of loot I've given out to people. I'm always like, shit, am I the wrong campaign? So you guys got what exactly? A box with 4 of these? But you knew one was, at least one of them
good
was
or bad
cursed.
luck stones.
You don't know. Yes, exactly that. His is definitely a good luck stone. It is beautifully made and perfectly polished. I will take Dinari and Weary an Arcana check. Maybe you know something.
No, I'm too flustered on that one.
Yeah, 2.
Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's definitely pretty and shiny and magical. And he sort of puts it away and, well, she wouldn't help me, so why not help myself?
Yeah,
And
I'm just...
I have since found 2 men like me. Unfortunately, they are seeing each other, but they assure me that there are others like us, and I will, I plan to head to Durban when I've raised some funds. I understand there's quite a few, and there's a circle I might find my way into where there are many of my type.
Yeah, there's a fair few on the open seas, mate. But
Well, I've heard that
You
they don't
sure?
take women on ships. They're seen as bad luck, aren't they?
quite right, and that's kind of why there's a fair few number of
You do know
men
that's a
like
bit of
you
an
aboard.
archaic superstition, but it is still a superstition with some sailors.
Yeah. You sure it's wise to be stealing something from a witch that
Worked out for me, hasn't it?
I don't know. Dinari, help me out here.
You think a hag would be so unkempt with her things that she would just not notice an item like this is gone?
Maybe she didn't notice me. Right, sneaky.
Yeah. And this isn't a direct insult to you. I know nothing about you, but I don't think many people around here would be capable of outsmarting her.
Well, I've got it, haven't I? She hasn't chased me down for it yet. Had it for 2 years. And it has brought me excellent good luck.
Nothing else that you've done in your life that's different in the last
I
few
got
years?
this,
It's
and the
only
very
difference-
next day my mother died.
Oh! Okay.
Fortune like that doesn't just come along. She was perfectly healthy and just dropped dead in shock.
And that's a good thing.
I inherited a fortune, got rid of an evil cow that hated me and treated me like half a man. And my father found a woman who actually loves him back. It was nothing but good fortune. Oh, it's mingling time. Look. And as he says this, the final course is finished. And the prince is going to say to Anivari, well, there's the dance hall and the games hall for this evening. Do you have a preference?
I'm afraid I've never really learned to dance.
Well, you'd never sat at a royal table and you seem to manage that astoundingly. Perhaps the grace of your battle maneuvers will translate well into dance. Though if you
Sort
prefer
of
to
give-
game...
I sort of give William like a panicked help me kind of look.
Let's see if I notice. With a 12.
Definitely.
It's over
Like,
half.
she's looking at you like...
I could teach you a simple dance.
How about the gaming? Sounds wonderful.
The dangerous option. Very well. Do you have steak?
No, I ate it.
Wasn't that cost for?
He sort of looks at you and a jest. It would be awful improper of me. Do you have a sponsor at court? Or perhaps you have funds from your adventuring?
Would I think that Henson would sponsor?
He did tell you quite outright that he would.
Okay. Yes. We do have a sponsor.
Yes. Interesting. Don't tell me. My money's on Fiona.
I do quite like her. She's fun.
She's refreshing.
Naive.
She has her own
Pleasantly.
perspective. Well, to the gambling hall, I guess. Will your friends be joining us?
I should think so. I'll glance over.
As he comes over, Renfrey sort of said, "Oh, we're mingling," and you'll note him sort of go over and engage in conversation with somebody over the other side of the hall, and people start moving about, and then the Lord will stand. Everybody sort of straight up. Ladies, gentlemen, others. So, another fine evening. It's my pleasure to welcome some new people to our court. I'm sure it has been quite difficult for you to miss them, especially as we have sat one of them at our own high table. It is with great pleasure that we welcome to our court 2 tieflings, not from Astrium, but from Durbin, I believe, and other lands afar, and a powerful sorcerer from the west, and a wild man who has a large pet bird, I'm told. Please treat them with the welcome that only Nolvinia is capable of. Perhaps they'll leave quickly. He gives it a laugh. It's obvious that he both jested and not jested. I do believe that my ever open-minded son has decided to make a little bit of a prize of these guests and is welcoming them to the upper table and to the gambling hall. So, well, should you wish to go there, I shall go somewhere else. In the meantime, have a lovely evening. And, one other thing. The Noble Gardens, out to the, on the Eastern Hill, out of bounds, for the next couple of weeks. We're going to be doing some refurbishment work, after the, court mage accidentally summoned a demon, in the court. Anyway, go forth, do something. Good night. And he had.
Did it sound like he was telling the truth?
Give me an insight check.
Both about the demon and about like the renovations and stuff. It's a 20?
Yeah.
30?
He wouldn't. He definitely seemed to be telling the truth, and his son, who's being quite honest with you and has corrected some of the things that his mother and father have said over the thing, and yeah, I mean he sort of nods and smiles. Wait, don't try and kill me. Yeah. So you believe so?
I'm gonna head to the dancing room.
Oh, okay. That's really inconvenient. Can you not?
You gave us 2 options.
No, I gave Anivari 2 options. Can you all go to the same place? I've had you split for the entire 2 hours so far. It would be really wonderful if you could just be in the same place. You can go to the dancing hall tomorrow.
Sure.
But, yes. Can you please just chill out? I've got a cat trying to savage my elbow. Cool. You can head over to the dancing hall. Hey, we had music for this, didn't we? We're fine.
I thought we weren't going to the dancing hall.
No, we're not going to the dancing hall. You're right.
Gaming hall.
You're right. We went to the gaming hall. We don't have music for this. Go back to that funny other music. Too many things to click. That's better. Kill the pen.
As the speech finishes and the Lord leaves, I will just sort of lean over. Is summoning a demon in the garden a regular occurrence?
The court mage is somewhat specializes in summoning. He summons many, what does he call them, creatures from other planes to garner information. And from what I understand, something about his circle wasn't complete. So the demon ran rampant through the gardens for an hour and a half before he corralled it back and sent it back to its original location. He had to use 3 different temple priests to aid him as well. It was quite the drama.
And this same man who can't draw a circle is out on the roads fighting the...
To be fair to him, this is the first time it's happened in over 150 years of his service, and he regularly summons demons and speaks to them. There's something about he thought that maybe somebody corrupted it. I don't know anything about magic.
I don't either, William.
I'm sorry, what?
We were talking about how the court mage summoned a demon, but his circle wasn't complete because somebody may have corrupted it. Does that make any sense, or have I misheard?
It makes sense. If he summoned this using a sigil and the sigil was disturbed in a way or tampered with, then...
So he's talking about summoning circles. Summoning circles are used to contain a beast of another plane, so they can't get out. If somebody smudges a rune on them or causes them to cause the circle to not be made perfectly, the beast would be able to escape. He will tell you that. Same thing. There is a summoning circle mosaicked into the courtyard, which is why he does it there. And basically, he says that somebody corrupted it. Something about an aura of ill fate. I don't know. But he didn't have time to investigate it before going out to look for these ghostly highwaymen. He's a very busy man, is our court mage. Do you aspire to a position of court mage? Not here, necessarily. Anywhere.
I'd rather not confine myself.
Oh. Ragar seems quite free. In what way would you be confined?
Who does he report to?
Well, my father employs him. I'm not sure report... Yeah, I suppose he does. We all have our duties.
There's one restriction.
Do you not have duties?
I have duties that I uphold to myself.
And your family? What of your mother? Do you not have duties beholden to her?
I do not.
So it's true.
Is what true?
I had heard rumor that you had decided to leave your family. Find your own way.
I left home, yes.
With no intention to return, and no intention to inherit?
I don't believe I would have inherited.
Was it liberating?
Oh my gosh. Like, you can see William's, like, really trying quite hard to not, like, say anything, like, rude or disrespectful with this kind of, like, prying. I will just, like, simply say, this isn't really the place I would prefer to talk about such matters, and with all due respect, I barely know you.
That is true, and you're right, it is not the place to speak of it, but I know of nobody else who has done such a thing. And I would very much appreciate your opinions on the matter before you leave Nolvinia, should you be leaving for the road again. It is a matter that is quite dear to my heart.
Because you plan on running away?
Choosing not to inherit my family's lifestyle, but instead to forge my own future. Yes, I've thought about it many times. I don't want to be the prince of a ruined place overrun with trolls, and the lord of a court of bickering, backstabbing, nasty people. Court of racism.
A place and a court that you can change.
When my mother and father pass, yes. That could be a couple of 100 years. At least.
Well, what is it that they say? Good things come to those who wait.
And yet, if it was a few years spent in eternal childhood under the thumb of one's ruler and mother, that is one thing, but a couple of 100 more years of it.
I kind of give him a bit of a quizzical look. You are people around here seem to quite enjoy you. And surely the leash your mother has on you isn't quite so literal. You can go places and do things. You are welcomed everywhere.
I understand where you're coming from, but I do not leave the city. Unless on organized hunting trips.
What stops you?
I've sneaked out a couple of times, and the court mage tends to appear by my side and teleport me back. No, I
Perhaps you
have
should-
not left the city in the last 20 years.
Perhaps the problem is your method of leaving.
As I said, I would highly value your opinion on methods and on your feelings, but you're right. It is a time for gaming and joy. Besides, I'm sorry to burden you with such heavy woes on your first day, really, in court. Come, let us collect your friends. And he sort of heads straight over and he sort of, Jaloko! Dinari, Weary, Baron. Shall we to the gambling hall? Perhaps you could show my friends your winning ways. Jaloko sort of looks a little sheepish. A little awkward at being addressed directly. Do you game, Weary?
It depends on the game.
I understand there's a lot of gambling at ships.
There is.
I've heard you were a sailor.
I was.
Whilst this is something you've disclosed at this table, it will seem very odd to Weary and all of you that he would know this. You haven't come in going, hey, I'm a sailor. So for him to have this piece of information is a bit strange. And then he looks over to Dinari and, will you be joining us at the gaming hall?
I guess by default, yeah.
You enjoy games of chance?
I'm more keen on a game of strategy, actually.
Glad am I, if we're going to be facing each other over the table, that it is chance, not strategy, we will be gaming at. I played chess with a Tiefling once. I don't know if they all... I must stop grouping you all together, I understand that, I'm sorry, it comes from being bred in a court of racism. But, nevertheless, the Tiefling I played against was extremely well taught. I found myself floundering.
Kudos to you. You're putting us in a box, but you kind of put me in the right box. I mean,
Well, perhaps it's
my father was.
Ancestral tradition is one thing, right? As opposed to racist grouping. I believe it's cards this evening. Which is just a game of chance, unless you're Jaloko, of course, at which point you'll win. Shall we? And then as you walk, he sort of makes small talk. He asks you what you thought of the food. Just little things like that. Is anybody raise anything in particular? Good. As you guys are approaching, Dinari and Weary, give me a perception check.
I'm just going to stay by the entrance to the room.
Okay.
To the hall.
As in, you just don't want to partake in the games, or you just want to observe, or?
Yeah, I just want to kind of like watch the people and what they're doing, like with a drink in my hand.
Maybe you'll stay near the table that your friends will be gambling at, so you can sort of observe that table and potentially partake in conversation should it happen.
If I.
Otherwise, Josh, I'm just going to have to just exclude William and say you're watching, and then you'll be sad in silence.
That's fine. Okay,
I can't facilitate anything elsewhere from the table. It's just too much for me to think about, if I'm dead honest. Yeah. Okay. What was your perception check, Dinari and Weary?
I had a dirty 20.
I got a 9.
Okay. Dinari, you'll see Jackson sort of give a little nod. And he puts a pouch in your hand and then sort of leans over and goes, spend it all.
Tell me twice.
Between the group of you, of course. And if you look in, there is 100 gold pieces. which is a fortune. The average income of a house in sort of the outskirts of Durban, where at least some of you have grown up or been, is about a couple of silvers a week. So yeah, you've got sort of 10 years salary for Dinari's parents, for example, or I mean even on a sailor's ship, you'd be given a gold piece for a month's work. There's 100 months of work here.
I guess I must have said that before I looked in and saw the amount of gold. Once I do, kind of like look back up and I'm like, I'm not physically capable of spending this much money at a time. Are you kidding me right now?
It'll cover you for a couple of hours.
What the fuck? Okay. Jesus.
When you share it out between the group quietly, when you head in, you'll note that there's tables around the edge of the room, much like the picture you're looking at. And there's one central table. And at that central table, there are 6 seats. And immediately, he will gesture for Anivari to take one, for Dinari to take one, for Weary to take one. William, he'll look to you, and if seeing your reluctance, you'll sort of go, very well. He gestures for Jailoko to sit, so it's him, Jailoko, Weary, Anivari, and then he will look around the room. And he will select 2 people to come and join you. And the 2 people he will select are, let me just find their names, Dorian, who was the brother of the brother and sister elf that got on really well, were really friendly. And then he also selects Asian, who was one of the Baronet's sidemen, who was the person who may have had this dark, evil, magic dodgy thing going on. He was very dangerous looking. Sort of dark hair, dark eyes, very well kept beard, lots of silver on his hands. As the 6 of you sit, he sort of gestures, and one of the gameskeepers will come over. So there are dealers here, and he will come over and take a seat at the table and say, "Welcome. Starting bets are 10 gold pieces." So, do we all know how to play? Today's nice and simple. We're going to be playing a game that's called Jack. It's quite simple. If you have a Jack, you will win the hand. If you do not have a Jack, then the combination of the 2 cards in your hand that are highest will win. A King will allow you to not lose, but also not win. And so you just take your own bet back. And the Queen is an immediate loss. No aces. Dealing now. And whilst that may have sounded complicated, all I'm going to ask you to do is roll me a D100.
$17.
61.
16.
Okay. So you'll sort of look around and you'll notice that the Asian has a very bad hand and sort of like folds it straight, like just sort of shakes his head and he's straight out. The Prince has a sort of middling hand, and then Jailoko sort of just turns over a pair of jacks and immediately sort of sweeps the 60 gold and he sort of smiles. First time luck. Over the course of the evening, you win a few here and there, but very quickly your money begins to flounder. The Prince holds out for quite a long time. Asian and Jailoko split it relatively evenly in their winnings. And very quickly, Shara is... she just loses over and over and over again. She seems quite frustrated by it. I'm going to take your rolls as an indication of your luck. So Weary, you do quite well at just bumbling along. There doesn't seem to be much skill. And then they progress onto a second version of the game where you can choose to swap cards sort of every round to 3 and 4 rounds. And this is when you can fold and not bet or raise. And it starts to become a bit more like poker. And you'll notice at this point, Jailoko sort of reading the table, he folds quite a lot and loses his bet, but every time he bets more, he wins. eventually your money will scupper out of the three of you. But over the course of the cards, a few conversations take place. And the first thing that is brought up is Shara sort of looks over to all of you and are you enjoying your time in Northinia?
It's been very different.
Different to where? I'm really desperate to know. Where are you from, Anivari?
I've spent some time here and there, but a large amount of time in Durban.
I hear it's quite a dangerous city.
I'd agree.
It's the pirate capital of Mazrera, is it not?
I can't say I noticed. I was young.
Did you ever meet pirates? She looks so weary.
Oh. Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately. You fell foul of them. How did you survive?
Oh, but the skin of my teeth.
Insight check.
Not literally. Inside check.
She sort of looks to you and did you flee?
Yeah.
What did you fight?
Well, at first we thought we may be able to fight, but nah, we had to give up all of our cargo and we had to. Some of us were taken, some of us were left.
Taken. Oh, no wonder. You must have seen so much hardship. That would bow a man's
Yeah,
shoulder.
well, you know, waves against the rocks. You know what I mean?
No. I've not been to the sea.
Oh, well, no. Count yourself lucky, but I will say it's one of the most beautiful places you can be, but it's also one of the most deadly.
Oh, beautiful and deadly. She turns to Asian. Not all of our appetites run that direction. Have you been to the sea, Dinari?
No. I stay quite well clear of the docks most of the time.
But you also grew up in Durban.
I did.
So few tieflings in Durban, and yet... And you didn't know each other beforehand, or so I'm told.
No.
We wouldn't cross paths that much.
As she says this, both of you will realize that it is a little unexpected that as two tieflings in... Durban's a big city. There's a lot of people there, but having not seen each other at all does seem a little odd. There's a little moment of quiet, and then she sort of... Did you all come from Durban?
Don't remember where I came from, to be honest.
No, I mean, like, you know that you all travelled from Durban at the beginning of the campaign, is what she meant.
We all sort of met each other somewhat around
on a
Durban
caravan
and that.
The prince will kindly supply. And she said, "Oh, sorry, I don't mean to make you rehash stories to those of us who've already heard them, but you didn't make such a mark on court over there. Was that because of William?"
We hadn't met before we left town.
Oh, you're only recently acquainted.
Somewhat.
Fledgling adventurers. Fascinating. You should have a bard tell your tales as you grow. Oh, I seem to have lost again. She sort of looks down, and Jailoko, you'll note, is taking in everything you say. He's very interested, but doesn't ask much. He just seems fascinated by everything you've got to say. The prince is also incredibly attentive. Asian looks bored out of his mind. And he just, a couple of times after he wins, he just sort of looks over and... Can we talk about something else? Something other than you three?
By all means.
Great.
Please do.
I understand there's danger in the silver mines down to the south. Over 30 people were killed down there. Some sort of large monster came out of the depths. Did you hear about it?
No.
I'm just going to give you a more local map so that I can point you to the mines. And the mines are at Ashbourne. And also the Sunfall Inn is near where the mines are. So it's both sides of this particular area. I think we have a smaller map, actually. Do we have a smaller map? So this, just to the south, about 60 miles to the south, there's a large silver mine. As him will inform you, my family have much money invested there. It's caused quite the problem.
What sort of monster?
Well, indeed. I mean, nobody really made it out, so we're not exactly sure, though there are various rumors. I believe it was some sort of creature of the depths, they say. I think that means a creature of darkness. Some say it was a dragon made of pure shadow, though I find that unlikely. From what I understand, some call it a strider, a creature of darkness. I don't know much more about it than that.
Does that name ring a bell at all?
Give me a... So make a constitution check with proficiency. Because you've read a lot about fighting various monsters and been taught a lot about fighting various monsters.
So you said it's con plus proficiency?
Con check plus proficiency, exactly that, yeah.
Alright. That's a 16.
Yeah. You've heard of various creatures that carry darkness with them or stride with shadows. One's a woe stride. You've also heard of the sorrow sworn, which can also do that. And then much, much more scary are night stalkers, which not only carry darkness but also the touch of death. Given that it's miners that were killed, you'd imagine that it could be something that's relatively low danger or extremely high danger. It wouldn't be particularly easy to tell because they're not really equipped for fighting. Yes, it would seem they dug too deep. My family is, well, my aunt actually is looking for somebody to abolish the monsters. Perhaps you could heroically rescue the mines.
Sorry,
This is Asien,
rescue the mines.
The dangerous elf, yeah. I'm asked about rescuing the mines. Or not, of course. And there's he tries to bring up a few interesting subjects. At one point, Jailoko will ask, do any of you perform magic? I know that your friend William has magics.
What you consider magic, but I can do this. And I put my hands in front of my eyes and they'll turn up again and then my eyes are green. And then they're pink and then they're blue as I'm casting thaumaturgy.
Oh. Well.
It's a party trick.
Certainly could be useful. Maybe. Could it be useful? Perhaps not. But it's amusing. What of you? Looks to Anivari. Actually, Elora, I would like to ask you over the table, above the table. I still don't know which fucking phrase it is. Above the table, over the table, under the table, round the table, across the table. As a DM to player, do you regard your Paladin abilities as magic or divinely granted, or how do you view your...
I would say it is magic, but it sort of just feels natural.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe it's been granted to you by an entity, or do you see it as part of your inner strength and inner growth?
Definitely inner.
Okay.
Yeah, from training and meditation.
And Weary, you are of course a priest.
Yeah, I'm obviously I obviously am a cleric, and
Yep.
when I didn't want to interject when he said you have no clerics with you, I was definitely like,
Yes, he wasn't at the right
But,
table, were you?
yeah.
So he will ask
Maybe
Anivari.
if you suggest, maybe
Well, I'll
if he
get to
says
you in a
that when
second.
I'm around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anivari, he'll say, and do you have magic? Do you?
I have abilities that I've only recently sort of. I think it takes a sort of inner strength. And I think
You're a sorcerer.
I've learned a lot in the last week.
He asks if you're a
I don't-
sorcerer.
I don't think so. I wasn't exactly born with it.
Oh, right. Yes, that is how. And then he looks over to Weary, and do you have magic, Weary?
Yes. Somewhat recently, I became a cleric.
Oh, of which god?
I don't know yet.
You just hear Asian just sort of go, "What the fuck?" We're back on to talking about them, and this is absolutely ridiculous. But Shara sort of looks over and you're seeking your inner self, are you? Trying to find which god resonates most with your inner treaties.
Yes. I used to pray to them all.
You should meditate.
Yeah. I find it a bit hard to meditate. Find it a bit hard to get some time alone. And I look up to the sky. And that's probably a good idea. Maybe try to listen to the voice which is guiding me.
Oh, you hear voices? Asian says very quietly.
No, but I hope to one day.
Oh. If you hear one that says jump, he just leaves the sentence there. And the prince said, fascinating. Your friends described you as somewhat of a hunter. A crack shot with a crossbow, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, that's me. That's also me.
Right, crack shot crossbow wielding cleric. Fantastic. You've covered everything they haven't. And you said you weren't min-maxing, he says to Anivari. And on that note, that is where we are going to come to an end. The evening will pass with cards, and we will resume at breakfast the following morning. Unless you guys wish to say anything sort of on the way back. Is that okay? Yeah?
All good.
Great. Okay. Fantastic. Ow! Stop with the claws. Excuse me. On the floor, tooth and claw. Yeah, we'll come to the timeless tradition of MVPs, and I'm going to take the one that I gave out a D6 for. I ate it. When he asks, do you have steak? William, Josh, your MVP.
So I have a minor and a major. So the minor
Rooms.
is... yeah, I like music. So the minor is when the Baronet was ripping into Paul, Weary, and Dinari. It was so brutal and yet so delicious. But the major one is when he was like, "Oh well, Amaranth is the most beautiful woman in all the land," and Dinari was like, well, "What to do?"
Yeah. I just love Dinari's constant cynicism and grumpiness with everybody else. It's just wonderful.
Totally.
Bumpkin.
God, you guys are taking all the really great, at least like thematic
so
story
many
parts.
great moments. I'm kidding.
I'll say, no, I very much like still that in all these different environments that we're going to, I still feel quite immersed into a lot of them.
I'm really glad.
The descriptions of all of the different courses that are going on, having the visuals of who's sitting where and what's happening is quite nice. Even though apparently I did not like gazpacho that much.
No. Elora.
I liked the Wizard of Oz style escort up from the lower town, and I really liked Jaloko going through and describing each layer, and then the end, and oh, a meatball.
Yeah, I wish that I could do the voice that I hear when I think of him. He's like one of those very exuberant Spanish or Latin men, you know, who everything they say they're very passionate and excited about. You know, like a Spanish tapas salesman. That's the voice I wish I could do, but I can't. So he gets this sort of slightly odd, slightly Khajiit, occasionally completely forgotten about accent. And I'm sure it's different week to week, but fuck it. At least we know it's him talking. Jack, your MVP.
It's two moments where two characters, one being an NPC and one being Anivari, where they've like done a little bit of growth in where the first one was Anivari, where she took the hand of was it Jackson?
Yes.
Like, who was like escorting her, and it was like, oh, okay, like we've seen her now that she's, you know, like becoming a little bit more like, okay, well, you know, you got to play the game type deal and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. And then Jaloko did it when to Dinari, where he was like, oh, I can't say anything, you know, like too, you know, like too, you
overly
know,
flowery, complimentary, yeah.
Overly flowery. Like,
you look
like they were.
nice.
I feel that they were close together, and then like it was cool to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there were lots of little moments like that, of little growth, and the NPC's changing opinion of you as well. There was one other MVP I had, which I gave out a D4 for, but none of you mentioned it, so I'll bring it back. When Elora was asking who would sit at the table with her, Bumpkin said, 2 tieflings at the table would just be a circus act. And that gave me a great chuckle. So, yeah, cool. But that is where we're going to end. If you guys would like to say goodbye.
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 We shall see you soon.